Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second Lunch and Learn. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which each of us are joining from. For me, that's the land of the Darkinjung people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. My name is Sally. I'm the Policy Manager here at Disability Employment Australia, and it's my pleasure to be your host for these Lunch and Learn sessions. They are a partnership between Disability Employment Australia and the Centre for Inclusive Employment, and aim to give providers and frontline staff members and managers really practical steps and advice and resources that you can use as we move into the start of the Inclusive Employment Australia contract. Today I am joined by Georgia Miller. Georgia joins us from JobAccess. She is an occupational therapist who has been working in OC rehab and disability employment for more than 15 years now. She's been with the JobAccess program for a large part of that time and has transferred across with the JobAccess program to its new home at Genu earlier this year. Georgia has a lot of experience both in clinical practice but also in leadership roles, and she's here today to talk with us about the JobAccess program and the Employment Assistance Fund and how that can benefit people with disability and employers as we place people into work. So I will hand over to Georgia now, and then there'll be some time at the end of the session to answer some of your questions. So if you have any, pop them in the chat and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Thanks, Georgia.
Thank you, Sally. I'm just going to share my presentation. Okey-doke. And just minimize that. So, Kaya everyone. Kaya means hello in Whadjuk Noongar language. I am Georgia Miller and I'm the National Manager of JobAccess. I would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional custodians on the land which I am from and I am based on today. As a national webinar, I acknowledge and respect the traditional owners of all lands which you all live, work and connect on. I honour the strength and resilience and wisdom of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and recognise the importance of inclusion, access and opportunity for all. Thank you for coming together today. There is much we can learn from each other. Thank you to the Centre for Inclusive Employment and Disability Employment Australia for hosting JobAccess today. And I'm delighted to be here to share information about the program, but particularly about workplace adjustments and the Employment Assistance Fund, which I'm going to refer to during this presentation as the EAF. Delivered by Genu on behalf of the Department of Social Services, JobAccess is the national hub for workplace and employment information for people with disability, employers and service providers. JobAccess can help people with disability with financial support and access to services to support them in the workplace. We manage a telephone advice line delivered by a team of frontline professionals, providing free, confidential and expert advice. They can answer your questions on matters relating to disability employment or direct you to other support services. Our teams also provide advice on and can help you organise workplace adjustments and modifications through the EAF. And our employer engagement service is the National Disability Recruitment Coordinator team. And they work alongside larger employers to increase their disability confidence. They do this through free and tailored partnership agreements. So workplace adjustments. Now, some of you may know what workplace adjustments are. However, to benefit everyone, let me start by defining the term. Workplace adjustments or reasonable adjustments are administrative, environmental, or procedural changes that enable people with disability to have equitable employment opportunities and work effectively and comfortably. Not all people with disability require workplace adjustments. However, knowing how to offer and provide adjustments can help employers attract, employ, and retain people from a wider talent pool. I also want to highlight that at Job Access, we've moved away from the term reasonable adjustment to workplace adjustment. Reasonable adjustment is a legal term used in the current Disability Discrimination Act. It refers to changes that must be made unless they cause unjustifiable hardship to the employer. Workplace adjustment is a more practical and inclusive term used in everyday workplace settings. It focuses on the goal of enabling employees to perform their roles effectively rather than the legal threshold of what's reasonable. We also use it as its plain language. Workplace adjustment is easier to understand for both employers and employees, especially those unfamiliar with legal jargon. It's positive framing. It shifts the focus from that legal compliance to creating inclusive and supportive work environments, and also the broader application. It encourages adjustments, not just for people with disability, but also for carers, older workers, and others who may benefit from flexible or supportive arrangements. So, Job Access undertook national research in 2023 to gauge awareness about workplace adjustments among employers and people with disabilities. The survey revealed that 60% of respondents said they were not familiar with the concept of workplace adjustments. It's worth noting that this is a 10% improvement in awareness since the last survey in 2021. However, the fact that 6 out of 10 Australians are still unaware of workplace adjustment presents a notable challenge. Some of you may know that workplace adjustments can be one of the most effective tools to help people with disability gain and retain employment. Further, a surprising statistic emerged from the survey. 59% of respondents with disability were not aware of workplace adjustments. This lack of awareness can have a detrimental impact on their decisions regarding employment and career aspirations. Their absence from the talent pool means employers also miss out on their potential. Also, only 2 in 5 saw workplace adjustments as something that is easy to organise. We also found that 40% estimated that the cost of adjustments would be significant. 30% admitted that discussing workplace adjustments fell outside their comfort zone. And while nearly 60% were unsure or did not know how to arrange workplace adjustments to support employees with disability. And lastly, we found that adjustments at work positively impact people by maintaining employment, increasing productivity, and job satisfaction and job sustainability. So, our expert team of allied health professionals who work within the EAF provide holistic and tailored advice on workplace adjustments to employers and people with disability from that first point of contact. We also support employers and employees and service providers to access funding for adjustments through the fund, which can help remove cost as a barrier to hiring a person with a disability in the role. Making adjustments has clear and wide-ranging business benefits. It can help by increasing the work performance of employees with disability by providing them the right tools to do their job. Increases retention of productive and committed staff who also may acquire disability during their employment. Increase staff capabilities, as some adjustments can enable employees to perform tasks they were unable to before changes were put into place. It also improves access to buildings and rooms. It can by other people and customers, potentially broadening a employer's customer base to include people with disability, and becoming part of day-to-day work practices for all employees by integrating workplace adjustment into business processes rather than them being an afterthought. Consider here the impact of COVID-19 and how many businesses moved to remote and flexible working arrangements for employees. Adjustments can be made to our physical environment, workplace practices, policies, and training resources to help improve accessibility and inclusion. So, a physical adjustment refers to any change made to the structure, surroundings, furniture, and fittings within a workplace to remove barriers and improve access for people with disability. Most physical changes needed to improve access are minor, such as moving desks or installing some brighter lights. Very occasionally, a more significant adjustment might be required, such as installing a ramp, an automatic door opener, or a visual fire alarm. The recruitment process can be a workplace adjustment. This could include making all recruitment materials available in accessible or alternative formats, such as PDs, application forms, and questionnaires, removing medical tests or aptitude tests that are unrelated to essential job requirements, providing alternative formats of assessment test papers, for example, in audio or large print versions, allowing candidates to present their answers using an alternative method, for example, verbally rather than in writing, allowing candidates additional time to complete exams or selection tests, particularly for individuals with dyslexia or other learning difficulties, organising the interview in an accessible interview, and providing an interpreter, for example, for a candidate who communicates using sign language. And the EAF can fund the use of a Auslan interpreter to participate in an interview as well. The job design process can be a workplace adjustment. This can include flexibility with work hours, job sharing. More than one person does the job. It can be an option if employees want to work part-time, but the job available needs to be worked on a full-time basis. Job carving, allocating some duties to or from another employee, and customised employment, job creation for people with a more significant disability. Training and development is another adjustment. So this could include introducing a workplace buddy or a mentor system, allowing external support workers from specialist employment or disability services on site for orientation and learning assistance, extending the training time or probation for workers with cognitive impairment or a learning disability, and arranging general or specific disability awareness training for co-workers, supervisors, and managers. Making adjustments in the workplace isn't costly or complicated. At JobAccess, we work with a national panel of assessors who conduct the workplace assessments and advise on workplace modifications and support at no cost to anybody. So the National Panel of Assessors also start their new contract on the 1st of November, and they are all accredited allied health professionals. Lots of OTs are on the panel, and they help us as our advisors at JobAccess be the eyes and the ears in the workplaces. And we work collaboratively with the panel of assessors and with you guys as service providers and employers on coming up with the best solutions for the client's needs. So the EAF can also cover more than just physical changes to the workplace. It can also provide funding for Auslan interpreting, for, as I mentioned, job interviews and related activities such as site visits, completion of tests and information sessions for people who are deaf or have a hearing impairment, where the EAF funds awareness training. So this could include generic disability awareness training, deafness awareness training, and mental health awareness training. The fund also provides, at the moment, it's $1,682.77 per year for each eligible employee to conduct training at the workplace. And the training is conducted by a reputable organisation and delivered by quality professionals who specialise in disability awareness. The training seeks to increase awareness, reduce stigma, improve attitudes, as well as increase the confidence of employers and co-workers to assist someone in seeking help. And the other thing we fund as well is specialist support, one-on-one support. Again, it's that $1,682 per year to employers for each eligible employee to access specialist services. This support is directed at enabling a specialist to work with the employee and the employer to establish and provide a practical plan or workplace-based intervention aimed to meet any workplace goals to overcome barriers. So this funding, we support a lot of people with mental health conditions, neurodivergent conditions, and that might be that they're at work, but they're having some barriers. So that might be in relation to communication, management style, time management, particular tasks they might be struggling with. So we get a professional, normally an allied health practitioner, who works with them and their employee employer, sorry, to help them overcome that barrier at work as well. And this funding is available that once per year, but in the future, you might have the funding once, but in the future, in 3 years' time, there might be a new barrier at work due to functional capacity, new management style, etc. And you can apply for funding again if there's a new barrier at work. So it's always there if someone needs it. So applications for workplace modifications can be made by you as a service provider for your participants. In order to be eligible for funding to make any workplace modifications and adjustments, there are certain criteria that applicants need to meet. So, having an offer of employment, be working at least 8 hours per week, and earning an hourly income at least equivalent to the national minimum wage, or working under 8 hours a week due to capacity, but building towards that at 8 hours a week. So, our EAF guidelines are changing as well on the 1st of November to accommodate the new changes, along with Inclusive Employment Australia around that 0 to 8 capacity for work. The other criteria is to be an Australian citizen or a permanent resident and have an ongoing disability that has lasted or lasts at least 2 years, and the disability must limit, restrict, or impair someone's ability to work. To do this, you submit an application online on our JobAccess website. We will assess the application and let you know of the outcome. If the application is successful, we'll also advise if a workplace assessment is required. If an assessment is not required, your organisation can purchase the modifications or adjustments and have the costs reimbursed by JobAccess. So we work as a reimbursement scheme. If a workplace assessment is needed, we will arrange a specialist, one of those national panel of assessors, at no cost to you to assess what workplace changes may be required. The assessor will visit and look at the workplace, identify any barriers that may exist, and talk with you, the employer and the employee, to find solutions to make that workplace more accessible and flexible. And then your organisation can purchase the modifications and again have those reimbursed by JobAccess. Some helpful tips when making an application: completing all parts of the application and providing all required supporting documentation. So please don't put an application on if you don't have all that ready to go, because it just delays the process for the individual. And don't purchase anything until the application's been approved. We issue an approval letter out in writing. But remember, we're here to help. Your JobAccess advisor will manage the process and answer any inquiries you may have. Detailed guidelines on the EAF are available online at the JobAccess website. So to help support some examples of funding under the EAF, I will now share 2 recent real-life scenarios the team have worked with. These applications were submitted by service providers on behalf of their participants. So case study 1, a doctor working in a large public hospital, working 3 days a week. They had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. The functional impacts of those conditions for her were reduced mobility, muscular fatigue, reduced cognitive endurance, and pain. JobAccess referred this application out for a worksite assessment with the NPA, with the recommendations made to the physical environment and at work, and also some equipment. So some of the recommendations included removing some overhead cupboards into clinical consulting rooms. So some height adjustable desks could be put underneath them. 2 actual electric height adjustable desks, 2 ergonomic chairs with some neck and arm support were recommended, as she needed those, as at times she had to wear a neck brace when she was at work, 2 footrests and a surgeon stool. So all those items were funded by the hospital. Their on-site building maintenance team removed those overhead cupboards. Sit-to-stand desks are standard equipment that would benefit any staff member regardless of disability. The 2 particular chairs the chair she needed times 2 weren't much more than a standard ergonomic chair, so the hospital was happy to fund those and the standard stool. What we at Job Access supported the application with was we funded 3 pairs of custom made dynamic movement orthotic leggings, which assist with joint support and postural alignment at work, and some cooling vests to assist with thermoregulation issues at work. These were made specifically for a medical environment as well, so we had to get them custom made, and we funded multiple as well. So to help managing the cleaning and sterilization of those types of equipment when she was working her different work shifts as well to accommodate that particular style of work. The next case study, another application we worked with a service provider on, was a reception and customer service officer for a small business, and he worked full time. They have retinal damage, which resulted in significant vision loss. And the functional impacts at work for them were difficulty accessing screen based information, accessing print text, note taking, using corded headphones, and pouring a hot drink. With a staff of 8 in total, this was the small business owner's first experience of employing a person with a disability. They funded, we sent this one for a worksite assessment as well, and the assessor made some recommendations. One of them was a mono wireless headset with a boom microphone, which I helped with minimizing getting tangled in the cords in the headset. So we eliminated that, and also the unit it helped him to hear environmental sounds because he was stationed at the front reception. So they also needed to hear when people were talking to them. For this case, Job Access funded Fusion Magnifier Reader with 10 hours of assistive tech training. This tech magnifies the screen and gives speech direction and helps with navigation on the screen. We funded an Orcam reader, which read items for them. So for him, he was sorting mail and deliveries at the reception desk. So he used this to read the labels of the mail. Funded a portable video magnifier and also a larger monitor to help with that screen magnification, and an Explore 12 with a stand, which helps him access his handwritten notes. So he was writing notes at his reception desk, but he did have trouble reading his own writing. So this Explore helped him to do that. And lastly, we funded a liquid level indicator that he could attach to his coffee cup to avoid any burns when he was making his cup of coffee at work. So hopefully these 2 case studies highlight how a combination of expert advice and targeted workplace adjustments, some are simple and low cost, while others funded through Job Access, can empower people with disability to obtain and maintain meaningful employment. The employers also gained confidence through the process, and the employees were able to continue performing their roles safely and effectively. So following on from those 2 impacts of workplace adjustments, between 2006 and 2024, Job Access has managed over 65,000 applications for workplace modifications and adjustments, and each one has made a difference. Feedback from employers and employees who receive workplace modifications through the fund tell us that 91% of employees were still employed 3 months after receiving workplace adjustments funded by Job Access. 91% of employees indicated they were more productive after the implementation of workplace adjustments, and 100% indicated that Job Access and the fund provided the help it was intended to. But the impact of workplace adjustments doesn't just stop there. In 2023, Job Access conducted further research with a 2-year follow-up survey. The survey was sent to individuals who had previously received funding to gain insight into their current employment situation, their economic and social circumstances, as well as their perspectives about the medium-term impact of the fund. The survey findings outlined that the vast majority of recipients remained employed 2 years after the initial assistance was received, and the majority remained with their original employer. The majority of fund recipients felt their job was sustainable 2 years after that initial assistance was received, and work was perceived to add value to the lives of EAF recipients by providing a sense of purpose, financial security, social connectedness, as well as a sense of being valued and self-confidence. And further data around this study can be found on our Job Access website. So as we approach the end of the presentation, I wanted to highlight a template that we have created for you to use with your participants and employers to support workplace adjustments at work. The Workplace Adjustment Passport was created to help employers and employees with disability record and carry workplace adjustment requirements across different roles, managers, and career activities within an organisation. It's designed to support a timely implementation of adjustments, helping employees be productive, aiding employers to meet their obligations under the Disability Discrimination Act, and also includes links to resources like flexible work policies, adjustment templates, job customisation guides, and career progression information. And the document adjustments throughout the employee works life cycle, so it's customisable to suit different organisations and employees' needs. The link to the template is on our Job Access website and also will be shared with you all. And that's it for the presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Georgia. Questions, if anyone has any, feel free to pop them in the chat so we can get to those. But a couple that we have already had come through. Georgia, could you talk a little bit more about what support might be available to direct managers who might have an employee with disability on their team through the Job Access program?
Yeah, sure. So ringing our 1-800 number, they could get advice over the phone from a professional advisor. And then from that conversation, the advisor might be understanding that there is some barriers at work that would lend itself to putting an application on for their staff member. And then that supervisor could put an application on, and then we could delve a little bit further into what some solutions can be to those barriers. So that first point of call would be phoning our 1-800 number, and then depending what the, I guess, level of barrier is, then it might be putting an application on as well.
Awesome. Work experience is something that is commonly used as sort of a stepping stone toward employment. Is there anything within Job Access that could support people taking on work experience placements?
Yeah, so it's great with the changes, the 0 to 8 capacity. And so doing work experience is a stepping stone into desensitizing into work and to obtain employment. So we will be funding those scenarios, and we'll be looking at it on a case-by-case basis, but there's definitely now room finally within the fund to support the adjustments needed and modification to support people on work experience.
Excellent. You touched on working from home and how that's created some flexibility and also some great opportunities for people with disability.
Yes,
What about workplace mods for those of us who are working from home? Do they apply to the home office setup as well?
they do. So it's just like anything to do. So regardless of disability, you need the standard tools of the trade. You know, you need your desk, your chair, your laptop, and your headphones to do your job at home. So anything above and beyond that's disability specific, yes, we would fund at home. So sometimes if the person works full time from home, we can fund something there, but they also might go in the office 3 times a week and need some stuff in the office too. So we do this on a case by case basis, but on top of what's already been provided by them or their employer as standard tools of the trade first.
Yeah, awesome. And in terms of applications, when is the best time to make one? And could you give an idea of how long the process is once an application's been made?
Yeah, sure. So the best time is, I guess, as soon as you know that, yeah, there's a barrier that needs to be addressed. So especially before someone starts their job, or their work experience. So once you know, we do like if there is a need to go to the physical work environment, that is always helpful. But sometimes we don't need to go, depending on what there might be already a solution at play. The team who support the Employment Assistance Fund, all allied health backgrounds themselves, and they've got lots of good ideas and solutions to lots of different barriers at work. So we might be able to bypass actually going into the physical work location before someone starts a job. If they've had an adjustment before as well, that always helps. So as soon as possible for the assessment, for the application on, please. And then the second part to that is how long it takes is dependent. So as I mentioned, if you put an application on and you have all your eligibility, at the moment, I'm pretty sure we are 5 business days out from contacting someone on putting in a new application. So if you have all your eligibility, that your application will be reviewed and straight to an advisor who would make an initial assessment phone call. And then from there, it would be how long's a piece of string. If we don't need a workplace assessment and we can get some quotes and we can fund straight away, or it might be that we've got to arrange that workplace assessment. The National Panel of Assessors who do our assessments in the workplaces, they have 10 business days from the day that we refer out to them to do an assessment, to do the assessment and submit their report. So that's quite a quick turnaround from assessment and report. And at JobAccess, when reports come in, that's they're a priority task for the team. So we review reports within 24 hours of receiving them. And then we can either say, yep, that sounds great, or hey, we might need some more information. Hey, do we need to consider X, Y, and Z? Or we might need some quoting or an equipment trial. So it does depend, but as quick you have all your eligibility on, we can move it quick for you.
Fantastic. And in terms of kind of like a bit of I guess, a wraparound support, can JobAccess assist with things like orientation, mobility training to get familiar with the workplace, or even travel training for those who might be using public transport to learn how to get to and from work?
Yeah, so we definitely do orientation mobility into the workplace, but the travel to and from work sits under the NDIS in community. But when you're coming, say, from your car, like you park your car into the work car park and you need orientation mobility from there, we can definitely do that. And for that travel piece as well, we can also do that too.
Fantastic. I think that's all that we have in terms. Oh, no, I've just had another one come in. Question. So in terms of a work from home job, yeah, which is, yeah, so I guess the question, I'll let you answer this, whether the Employment Assistance Fund could fund the cost of things such as home internet and electricity bills, and for how long?
Yeah, so no, we don't fund on those items. No.
Yeah, yeah. Although they are potentially, depending on individual circumstances, can be a tax deduction. So
Yes. Yep.
other route. Cool. Well, Georgia, thank you for your time today sharing about job access and the Employment Assistance Fund and how we can use that to support job seekers as they move into the workforce and develop their careers. Thank you for sharing those resources with us. And I believe that there are more resources coming out from Job Access on a pretty regular basis. So definitely encourage people to, yeah, keep across the Job Access socials and their website and newsletters, because there's always a lot happening in that space. So thanks, Georgia, and thanks again to Liv and Hanif, who've been putting everything together behind the scenes today. And we will be back next Wednesday at 12:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, where we'll be talking with James from Popular, and that will be around leading from the middle. So some practical tips for new managers. So again, thank you so much for coming, everyone, and have a lovely rest of the day.